Morning. Today we are gonna head out and go set up our first pasture with our Nofence. I'm out here kind of just checking where goats are at, and they're predominantly on one side of our pasture. As we get ready to set up the first training pasture, I decided to pick this end because we've been already out wintering them here. Let's see if I can see a little bit. You can see where they have some of the shelters and the bale grazing that's still going on. So actually this time of year I'm kind of excited about using it too, because as we're waiting for the pastures to green up, it's nice to keep them off, but yet since we utilize our pastures like very dynamically throughout the year, and our facility really isn't set up to keep everybody in the barn until that time, nor is that really advantageous because the barn will it can handle our animals if it's just a shelter as needed, but to be like it's our herd's full like home base without having access to pasture can be a lot. So that means like it will by feeding inside and bedding, like we will need to clean the barn more frequently. They just don't have enough space, and with kidding and waiting on pasture, it's just a lot. And so by being able to fence off the goats in an area and sheep too, eventually this will be very helpful. In the past, we've used electric fence to do this in the spring, which works good too. But this is going to be one more element in advance of that. So I'm going to start working through the app and figure out how to set up the first training pasture. So my first update to the pasture, my first testing area, I set it up and then I drove up to this area because you can see I've got this is our farthest round bale that's out here. I wanted to make sure that there was enough wiggle room with the virtual fence. I don't want to cause any unintended issues if the virtual fence line has some wiggle room with the hay feeder that they should have access to. So I'm gonna go kind of drive around and take a look at things and kind of watch to see how things update on the app. All right, now I'm setting up my first pasture in the Nofence system. So those white dots are the post markers. They're a little bit harder to set up. I have this on fast forward just because it took me a little while to figure out how to get the touch to work within the app. But once you have a shape set, then you can save it and give it a name. And then from there, you can start to assign collars to the paddock that you set up. And I'm doing that right now. Then you confirm it and then set it to that pasture. It takes some time to set up. And this is also how to edit a pasture. So I did some editing based on where we were feeding our round bales. So you can go ahead and readjust. You can see that blue dot. That's where I was standing when I recorded this. So I just got an error that I was able to not connect with 9 collars. My guess is that I have some goats that are up in our pasture shelter, so I'm going to go walk out here instead of driving around. So one thing I will have to do that I'm going to do later today is there's beacons that you have to put into metal buildings to make sure that the signal gets through, and so that is next on my list. Right now, I'm not overly concerned, but it's on my things to do right away, or I guess soon. But I'm gonna just walk out here and take a look and see where things are at and confirm my suspicions that I have about 9 goats in there. So, all right, let's see what we got. Oh, here we go. I was correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe it was 8 collars. Or it could have been lamb chop because she's next to the building too. All right. There we go. I decided it was probably good just to get the shelter beacon set up in our pasture shelter out here where we have our first group of goats testing out the Nofence. So what I did actually was just take the shelter beacon and zip tie it to the support beam in the center of the shelter. I was going to screw it in, but it actually turned out to be easier just to zip tie it. Then if I ever need to move it somewhere else, it's not hard to do, and really it just needs to be inside the building to work and help transmit the signal to the collars and back to the satellite system. So Nofence actually recommends the training period to be over 1 to 2 weeks of time, and you start within a existing fenced-in area with one distinct line of virtual fence, so it is easier for your livestock to recognize the signals, the prompts that let them know that they need to stay inside the virtual fence boundary. So I'm going to be curious to see how this goes because I have my fence line based on GPS just past these 2 trees here. So I'm just going to watch and see what happens. And this is probably going to be the first time they learn how to use it. They're just nibbling on fresh grass and some of the residue hay. So it's possible. Yeah, I think they just hit it because they kind of stopped and then went back. You can see the one with the white head there. She seems like she's not sure what's going on. Now that we've got the collars on and we've gone through kind of the install and battery charging, just a few things on thoughts as we started using the fence or the Nofence collars or the virtual fencing. When we put the collars on, we didn't realize that you had to really snap the battery in. Thankfully, we were only 7 deep into putting them on, and we had the goats in a holding area, so we were able to corral them back up together and put those together. It took me a little bit to figure out how to change the chain for the neck chain for our buck. It also was good for me to double check on how that would fit with our sheep. Our breed of sheep, we have predominantly Texel sheep. They're kind of big, thick necks. So I'm definitely going to have to order more of those chains to adapt those collars. I'm starting to think about how we probably will manage the collars going forward. I don't think it's really realistic or feasible for us to be changing them out as an animal needs it. Our animals are used to working with us, but yet we don't handle them every day where they're super tame. So in my head, I'm thinking that because we do herd health like we did yesterday 2 times a year, plus typically a once over checking on herd health, kind of a high level one, midsummer, just checking for parasite challenges and anything else we might miss. Those 3 times might be a good time of year to just systematically change out batteries at those points. So we will see how they go. We're currently testing right now. I'll share kind of how that goes. Let me know if you have other questions, and as I use this throughout the season, I'm going to share updates on how we're using it with our farm, but I'd welcome other questions, and I am glad to share as we go along.